We have an update on the Kada Scott story. A body has been found in a shallow grave. Kada Scott's neighbor breaks her silence, and it's kinda weird. A police conference and more details. Watch this video till the end to find out. If you're here for the first time, please subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell beside it so you'll get notifications whenever I upload new content. And if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Let's get into it.
Hi, my name is Gabby, and I'm going to be discussing some of the misinformations that are going around in the internet regarding me and the Kada Scott situation. So, if you are unaware, Kada Scott is a girl that went missing in Philadelphia on October 4th. So, I did know Keon. He was my friend. I met him about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was also the local pharmacist. Now, me and my best friend, we were also mutual friends with Keon. He was our pharmacist. So one day Keon calls me, and keep in mind I am in school, I am in Maryland, and he will usually just call me, just to check up and talk. So he calls me and he asks me if I know Kada. And I'm like, yeah, I know Kada. And he's like, oh yeah, I noticed that she lives really close to you. I'm like, yeah, she lived right in the back of me. And I'm not thinking nothing of it because he usually calls me and, we just be chatting. He'll call me about the people that be around because he is the pharmacist. I live in the neighborhood and he be in my neighborhood. So we hang up the phone and that was that. We were only on the phone for 29 seconds. So you can see that this is the day that he called me and this was before Kada went missing. And we were only on the phone for 29 seconds. Also, I know that his name says Elliot in my phone. That's just what we call him. So a couple of days after that, my best friend calls me and, we're just talking about life. And I mentioned to her how Keon brought up Kada to me. I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm like, oh yeah, he was probably trying to flirt with her. He's probably trying to get at her. Mind you, me and my best friend, we know Kada because we grew up with her little sister. Now, we didn't know Kada personally because, again, we grew up with her little sister. We were around 12, 11 years old. Kada, she was much older than us, so we didn't really talk to her. So my best friend was like, oh yeah, he probably thought she was cute, and that was that. So right here is the day that I called my best friend and told her that, Keon was trying to get at Kada. This is before she went missing. So a couple days, maybe a week after that, it is reported on October 4th that Kada is missing. So keep in mind, I am in Maryland, so I'm not really into all the Philadelphia news that be going on. So I'm not knowing that Kada is missing until my best friend sends me a text and says that Kada is missing. So this is the day that my best friend tells me that Kada is missing on October 9th. So I'm in my friend's dorm and I call Keon and it's a lot of music and a lot going on in the background. So I go somewhere that's quiet and I tell him, Keon, Kada is missing. That girl, she's missing. So he was like, what? And then after that, the phone just hung up. So here you can see that I called Keon and we were on the phone for 2 minutes. So you have to keep in mind, this was my friend, okay? I did not think that he could be capable of anything like this. In my head, I'm just thinking, there's no way in the world he could have did something like this. There's no way in the world. So then a couple of days after that, my mom sends me a screenshot of Keon turning himself in for the kidnapping of Kada. So this is my mom sending me the article and she was distraught to say the least. And I know she said that he was a random person, but she says this about all of my friends. So me and my best friend, we get on the phone and we're talking about the situation. We're just saying how this is just crazy. This is the call of me and her talking about it. Now, this is all happening around the time that I'm taking my midterms. So I'm really just trying to keep my head on the books. And I wasn't really trying to let this stress me out. So I kind of just let it go. He turned himself in. It's not really much to say or do anymore. So a couple days after that, me and my best friend get on the phone and we're basically just, talking about the Kada situation. And she says that she thinks that I should call the cops. So she was basically saying that she thinks that I should call the cops and tell them that Keon was, asking about Kada. Now, at the time in my head, I'm thinking that there was no reason to call the cops. He already turned himself in. And I felt like it would be kind of a waste of time to tell them that the guy that they already have in custody, called me and was asking about the girl. And me personally, I'm not a cop caller. I don't call the cops. That's just the way that I grew up. That's what I was around. They will always tell me, you don't call the cops. So I just felt like, the information that I had and the fact that, I'm just not really a cop caller, it wouldn't make sense for me to call the cops. So then my best friend tells me, well, if you won't call the cops and tell them, then I will. And then she basically tells me that she doesn't want to be friends with me anymore because I won't call the cops. And I told her, that's completely fine. I just don't want any involvement. So then we hung up the phone, and then I believe she called me again with the police on the other line. So you can see, I told her, I'm sorry, I'm not talking to the cops. And yeah. Now, I can see how this could be cruel, and I do take accountability for that. So then, a couple of days later after that, I get sent a link on Instagram. And the link was basically my best friend going live, just talking about the situation, saying how I was weird for not going to the cops. And people in the comments were just coming up with their own narratives about the story. And it just got way out of hand, and it just spiraled. So you can see somebody sent me the link of the live, and still to this day, I have not watched the full entire live. Then people just started asking, who is Gabby? What's the connection? And, she told people that I was in Maryland for school, and it was just a whole entire thing. So, of course, I was angry and I was confused because what is going on? So I text her. I tell her that, that was weird. And yeah. Then I started seeing posts of people saying that they think that I set Kada up, and that why wouldn't I go to the cops, and that I was just suspicious and all of this stuff. And this was never the case. So I do end up contacting the authorities after I seen people just making up crazy stuff about me and the situation. They cut me off. They tell me that they already know what's going on, that they have a close eye on the social media. And they also tell me that my friend did come forth with the information, and they told her that there was nothing that they can do, that the information that she bought them was useless information because they already had Keon in custody, and it was just nothing for them to do with this information. They told me to contact them only if I had anything that could lead to finding Kada, because that is their main priority. Now, I do believe that the person in the live was just kind of taking what I told her and running with it and just spicing it up to make it seem like something that it wasn't, for, I don't know, maybe views. People were saying that, she was walking around and showing what stores Kada would go to, where she would walk her dog, and just stuff like that. I also had one of our mutual friends come to me, and he told me that she told him that we knew Kada our whole lives and we grew up with her, which wasn't the case because we grew up with her little sister. Now, I do think that the person in the live was taking what I told them and kind of just running with it and spicing it up to make it seem like it was way bigger than what it was. And I basically think this because I had a mutual friend that came to me and said that she came to them and told them that we knew Kada our whole life and that we grew up with Kada, when that wasn't the case. We grew up with her little sister. My prayers go out to Kada and her family, and I hope that she can make a safe return home.
Gabby is best friends with him. So everybody's like, Breezy, you was right. It was a light-skinned girl vibe, because what happened was, when I see my vision, it's two girls. They have on blue t-shirts. And one is light-skinned, high yellow, with two braids in her head. And she looks at me, and it's a little girl. She's not as light as her, but she was in the light. She's like my complexion. So she turns her head. So I'm like, they was demonic though. So I'm like, why is they looking at me like this? But it's a vision, like right here. So I've been saying this a long time as well. And then next thing you know, Gabby comes up. Now, Gabby is the girl that they went down Southwest Philadelphia to the house because of Kada phone pinged in the park. Once it pinged in the park, it pinged to Southwest Philadelphia. So the house that they pinged it to was where Gabriella was at. So Gabriella said she didn't know Kada. Then she lied and said she did know Kada because she was getting pressured. So next thing you know, the phone was pinged back. Oh, fuck, another thing Lord just came. She was pinged back. Thank you, Spirit. I love you, Spirit. I swear I love my tribe and my ancestors for what they do. All right, so that was a moment. So whatever the case is, she was pinged back to the phone in the area of Ada Lewis School. It was pinged back to Ada Lewis School based upon that's where they originally was at when she showed me that she was there. So when that call said help, she was letting me know I was close. She was letting me know, like, you here, Breezy, Aunt Breezy, whatever the fuck you want to say. All right, baby, I'm sorry. She was like, it was like she was here. So next thing you know, after that happened, everybody was like, we need to go to the, you know, certain places. So as I'm watching the news, I'm like, wait, white van. I'm like, oh, that go the white truck I was talking about. His car, the gray car was sitting across the street, and they go the white truck. Somebody found his Instagram, same car before it got crashed up. So we know it's him. Moving along, not to bounce all over the place. So Gabby is best friends with him. Now, it was a little girl on TikTok that everybody brought to my attention when she was talking about him and how she knew him. Now, her best friend is the girl who gave me the info. And she lied to me because she didn't know. She told me she didn't know him before. But apparently the girl was on there talking about Kada, how she walks her dog and, you know, things like that. And they, you know, all above. So that's stalker. That's a stalker. I said, she was jealous. I said she was having fucking Keon. I said, and she knew what Keon was about to do to Kada. Because Keon asked her, hush. Because Keon asked her, where do Kada live at? Where does she work at? And all the above. Now, he knew Kada already. It's not a mystery he didn't know Kada. He definitely knows Kada. He know. I want y'all to understand, it was never that he was a stranger to Kada. He knew Kada. He knew who Kada was as a person. Kada knew him as a person. But it was not supposed to go to this level because Kada was not in a relationship with him. She was in a relationship with somebody else. Please, you was not getting up here. She was in a relationship with somebody else. So with that being said, as she was in a relationship with somebody else, as she was in a relationship with somebody else, let me give you the downloads because I don't want to be all over the place. In my downloads, that's what they do. All right, so earlier we was talking about it. The girl that gave me the jewels, she told her best friend that was talking about Kada on live, she needs to call the police and tell the police what she knows. The girl was like, I'm not telling anybody anything. So apparently the girl said that Keon told Gabby that what he did with Kada, and don't tell nobody where Kada was, what me asking about where Kada at and where she live at and where she work at. Because Kim didn't play that, nobody knowing where she lived at. So that's how I know for a fact he didn't know where she lived at. So the girl told, and Gabby promised not to say nothing about what he did to Kada. So Gabby goes to school in Maryland. So the girl was talking about that. Y'all had to go see her live on TikTok. Some people saved it. I don't know. Hey. Hold on. Khalil. Because you acting up today, mama.
Hi, Drew. So we are back in East Germantown. If you've been following the Kada Scott investigation, today is 2 weeks since she went missing. And we are back here at Ada Lewis Middle School, which has been abandoned for over a decade. And we got the update from police that they found human remains belonging to a female. They say these remains have only been here no longer than a week. Obviously, heartbreaking news for a lot of people to hear. And while police are not confirming that this is Kada Scott, they are obviously acknowledging the high possibility. And police say now the medical examiner will need to confirm who this person is, the remains, who they belong to, and everything will kind of go according from there on. So if you've been following the case, Kada Scott, she was last seen at her workplace, and that is over at the terrace at Chestnut Hill. That was 2 weeks ago, the night of October 4th. Police have said that she showed up to work and was only there for about 20 minutes, and then she disappeared. And throughout this investigation, we've then learned that the last person she had communication with is a 21-year-old named Keon King. And police say they have evidence digitally as well as through video that this was the last person that she interacted with. Now, Keon King, he was arrested earlier in the week. He turned himself in Tuesday night. Police announced the arrest Wednesday. He's facing several charges, including kidnapping. And we know that there are other prior victims who've now come forward, including the victim of another 2025 prior kidnapping case that was withdrawn from court in May. But obviously, the big news here is the fact that human remains were found. Let me just show you what it looks like now. So you can see that there still is a bit of a police presence, and all the way down the street here, Ardley Street, you can see there's a large group of people. So many people have been following this investigation. They've started to help even with the search. We heard there were over 40 people last night right in this neighborhood searching the grounds of the Arboretum, searching the grounds of this abandoned middle school. And, there were a lot of emotions going on after police announced that they found human remains. So many people who are heartbroken for the family, so many people who are upset by the fact that, remains were found now and not sooner, especially after some of those tips that they provided to police. Now, police tell us that they actually showed up here because of a very specific tip. It was an anonymous tip, and it led police behind this abandoned middle school to a heavily wooded area, and that's where they made the discovery here. So there's a lot to get into tonight. We're definitely going to keep you updated as we learn more. But again, the big notes on this: human remains were found belonging to a female. The remains have been here no longer than a week. This is a property that has been searched before in connection to the disappearance of 23-year-old Kada Scott. We've had her family on Good Day. We've interviewed them over these last couple of weeks, and we know how much she was loved and also how many people had so much pride in what she was doing. She was working in healthcare. She had opened up a beauty facial salon at a very young age. She was described as a go-getter. So obviously this is very heartbreaking discovery for the family. But again, police are going to wait to confirm through the medical examiner.
Just want to give you an update on the case regarding 23-year-old Kada Scott, who went missing on October 4th. A little bit of a somber and grateful moment here right now. Based on tips that have come in over the past few days, as we called on earlier this week, asking for the public to provide any information, any tips, and the public has been fantastic in providing tips and information, and we greatly appreciate that. But based on a tip that came in last night through the night, investigators began the process of following up on that tip this morning, starting around 10 o'clock this morning, following up on that tip. And the tip was very specific that led us back to this location here today, which you all know we were out here earlier in the week doing a little bit of a search. And so based on the investigative information, based on the investigation and what they were following up on that tip today, led us back to this area behind the school, where it's a wooded area. I don't know if any of you have been back there, but it's a wooded area that goes beyond the school. And so we begin to go back into that area where we will locate a shallow grave after being able to remove some of the debris back there, able to locate the body of a human being. All indications at this point is that it's a female. We are not going to confirm at this point that it is Miss Kada Scott, because that has to be done by the medical examiner's office. But we have been in communication with her family as to this process and the fact that we have recovered a human being. And so at this point, it's still a lot of work to be done. I'll be very candid that we can't answer but so many questions. I'm not going to get into the investigation at this point because we want to make sure that all of the pieces to this are done correctly and that we don't put out information ahead of time. Because we want the people and the person that we have in custody and anybody else that may be involved in this, we want them held accountable to the highest degree of the law for what they have done. And so I just want that to be clear as to why we will not get into specific details. And so that's where we're at this point. Still a lot of work, but I must say a lot of work has been done around this case. As you know, we've been searching, have done multiple searches. We shut down the police academy. That was a decision made by myself and Commissioner Bethel to shut down the police academy over a week ago, where we brought out the entire group of recruits to comb through this area. Again, so I know, listen, no one is happy that this is the ending, and completely understand that this is a lot on our investigators, a lot on all of us, because again, we all have family members, and this could have been any one of our family members. It could be anybody's family member, and that's understood. And that's the reason that you see that the tireless work has been done by starting with Northwest Detectives, and then by Homicide, by our partners through the FBI, through our forensics office, through any and everybody that has been a part of this process, because we wanted to bring some level of closure to this family. And so, again, we're going to wait until we have official confirmation on, as the medical examiner is going to do their process, and then we will bring that confirmation. But that's where we are right now. Again, I can't reiterate enough how much we appreciate, tips and information that are coming from the public. I still will urge the public that if you have any information, anything that you think is related to this, continue to give us that information via 215-686-TIPS. Still continue to give us that information, because again, we don't know if there are other individuals that have been a victim of this individual that we have in custody. And so I just want that to be clear, that please continue to provide that information if you have anything. But that's where we are at this point. I would also ask you to continue to pray for Ms. Scott's family.
What's the process of getting that official confirmation on whether it's her?
Well, at this point now, we're on the medical examiner's timeline. And so they will, the body will be recovered and transported to the medical examiner's office, and then they will go through their process methodically to ensure that, again, everything is done right. There's a court case that has to come behind this, and that's what I just want to be clear. I know sometimes it seems like the information is not coming fast enough, but we have a job to Ms. Scott. We have a job to her family. Again, if this is confirmed that this is her, to ensure that we are doing everything in the proper way to make sure that the individuals are held accountable. And so we don't want to do anything to compromise that. And so that's why we will be on their timeline. Once we get confirmation, then we will give that to you all and be able to move forward with that process.
This area was combed earlier this week. I'm wondering why it took until now for the remains to be found.
Have you ever been in the woods of any
Yes,
any location?
I'm from Appalachia.
Okay,
Very
and
familiar.
so then you can understand that it's not an easy process. And when you know that you're looking for something, but don't know where someone hid it, it's not that easy of a process. And so we were here, we were on the other side. We had plans to do some additional searches as the weekend concluded, as well as going into next week. And so the area where we were back here. And our dogs were back here, officers were back here. Again, there is a lot of wooded area. And so we're grateful today that we're here. Make no mistake about it, if we had located the body yesterday, this in terms of this discovery would not, this person has been deceased for a few days, and so for some time. I'm not going to say how many days, but this didn't just happen yesterday. And so, we did a lot of work. And again, I'm proud of the men and women in this organization that have, been doing the work to try to locate Ms. Scott. And again, in our minds, we know this was a possible reality, and here we are, unfortunately.
Does the timeline match up?
There's a timeline of what?
In terms of when she went missing and how long it looks like that
As
grave
I
has
said,
been around?
I am not going to get into any of the investigative process because I don't want to mess up this case. And I don't want anyone picking apart what we say and trying to create a defense. I want to make sure that we do our jobs in the most diligent way. We give the district attorney's office an opportunity to do their job in the most diligent way, and that we get a prosecution on this incident here. And so I'm not going to get into any parts of the investigation, not out of disrespect, but just simply because I want to make sure that the person we have in custody and anybody else that was involved in this, that they are held accountable the way that they should be. And so that's why I'm not getting into the specifics of the case.
The specific tip that came in, could you get into more detail about what was specific about it? Is it in location, and was it from a community member?
I won't get into the specifics. There's an anonymous tip that came in through our tip line. as we have been asking for. But it was very specific as to detailing us and directing us to a specific location in the wooded area, going back to your question, a very specific location that narrowed it down. Don't know who the tip is from, but grateful that the individual submitted the tip that brought us back here to this location this morning.
Just the last question. Forget the cursing and the yelling at you guys. It just shows that there's passion behind this. What do you want to say about the passion of the community? They were out here, as you know, last night searching as well. Just your thoughts on just the community's involvement in this case.
Listen, I am not offended by the passion that some of the remarks that have been made as we were walking back. I'm not offended at all, because that's people's emotion, and this is an emotional situation, and so it's to be understood. However, I know what we have done, in the amount of hours that have been put into this process of trying to locate Ms. Scott. I know the work that has been done to bring the individual in the custody that we have in custody, and I know the work that these investigators will continue to do to ensure that we wrap this case up and that we do everything to hold the people accountable in the proper way. And so listen, we can't be upset at that. I mean, that's emotion. If that was my family member or if I was someone I knew, I would have the same level of emotion. And listen, to be quite frank about it, the reason I go through the steps of what we have done is because not every community member, they don't know that we shut down the police academy to bring 300 recruits up here to go searching through an area. They don't know that. They don't know that we had teams of dogs from New Jersey State Police come into Philadelphia to help us in the search process. They don't know that. And so it's my job to make sure that I express that, so they know that this police department, we took this case serious, we took every case serious, but the work that's been done to again, bring this to some conclusion. Is this the conclusion that we wanted? Absolutely not. But at this point now, we have to do everything in our power to ensure that we bring justice for this family and some level of closure. And so to answer that, no, it's understandable. Listen, that passion you need, because that's also the passion that helps you drive in the tips. That's the passion that gets you to have the support from the community and getting the information that we got. And so it's understandable.
Could we hear from the ADA as well?
Absolutely.
Once and if it is confirmed that this is Kada, what does this mean for King?
It means that we do our job. It means that we take everything that we know, we take everything that we found out today, we let the MEs do what they do, and then everything will come to us and we'll make the determination of whether we add additional charges.
And what would those additional charges be?
Once we hear from the ME, I'll have a better answer on that. Obviously, we're like you said, we're going in order. Right now, we're on to the ME. They're going to do their investigation. As soon as we hear from them, it'll guide us in what we do.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
The unanswered questions now shift from where is Kada to what exactly happened to her and why. Kada Scott did everything society tells victims to do. She reported fear, she confided in loved ones, she tried to protect herself. But the system failed to protect her in return. This case is still developing, and as soon as authorities release the medical examiner's findings and formal charges, this story will continue to unfold. Now that we've come to the end of this video, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Don't forget to like this video and share it with the people you know who may enjoy this content as well. It helps the channel grow and allows me to create this content for you in the future. Catch you in the next video.